Hey dudes, and welcome back to the Bantz. As always, I am your host, the Bantz. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend, but now it's time to finally get back into the week. And what better way to start that off than with our first what's happening in fashion for the week, so let's just get right into it. And first up, of course, we have our headlines for the day. And starting us off, we actually have two headlines pertaining to brand The North Face, although don't worry, they're actually good this time. Our first story centers itself around one of their newer collections, which they are calling The North Face Renewed. And basically what it is they're taking products that were either damaged in the production making process or returned products that can't be sold as is, and refurbishing them and selling them at a discounted price. And of course, I think this is a fantastic idea. I mean, more and more companies are finally starting to push up to the sustainability plate, and even though this isn't by any means a full turn into sustainability, the idea of recycled goods is still a step in the right direction. And although many are quick to point out that this is by no means a new idea, of course Patagonia started doing this about a year or two ago, the fact of the matter is that even though Patagonia in and of itself is a big company, the North Face is about 10 times as large. So that means 10 times as many eyes are going to be able to see this amount of sustainability, the idea of using recycled products, and even though it's the same idea, more eyes on sustainability is always better in my mind. The North Face also just recently teamed up with National Geographic for their limited edition run of what they're calling their Bottle Source collection, and I also think this is great as well. And this collection is exactly what the name entitles. Basically what they did is they rounded up thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bottles that were trashed in national parks across the country, broke them down, and used the fibers to make the t-shirts in this collection. And the nice thing on top of this is that the t-shirts in and of themselves are pretty cool. I think the graphics are decent. I love the slogan, and the price, not too bad, especially when you factor in the fact that with every shirt they sell, they are donating a little bit to help prevent this in the future. So shout outs to North Face on both stories. Really nice to see them working in this style, and I hope they really do keep it up. Then Instagram account Diet Prada and brand Dolce & Gabbana are feuding once again, so let's talk about it. Now, to begin this story, we have to travel back a little bit in time to last year when Diet Prada was doing what Diet Prada does best, and that's calling out people on fakes, copies, and imitations. So of course Dolce & Gabbana got called out here, and one of the head designers for the brand wasn't too happy about it, decided to go on a little bit of a tirade, and ended it all with trying to push his own hashtag, which was "Please say sorry to me." So what does Diet Prada do in return? Well, they take that hashtag and print it on a shirt. Which then of course brings us to where the story is now, and that is Dolce & Gabbana's response, which is to take that hashtag again and print it on their own much more expensive shirt. Now obviously this whole feud is very dumb, very petty, and could have been completely avoided if either side had just decided to just shut up at any point in time. But this is the fashion industry. Of course everybody's gonna be fucking petty about it. And really the only reason I wanted to highlight this story is just because I kind of found it somewhat funny that somebody would even try to attempt to copy, for the lack of a better term, something that Diet Prada did, knowing that of course they're gonna talk about it. I mean, this is fucking Diet Prada. And I do have to make a quick reminder to those of you out there watching this: if you end up buying this Dolce & Gabbana shirt for $500, then once again, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, and with our headlines done, let's move on to our art stories for the day. And first up, once again, the amazing graffiti brothers behind Gemeos sat down for another interview, this time with High Snobiety. So if you're interested in once again learning a little bit more about them, their style, their ideas, definitely give this a read. Then legendary street artist Banksy has decided to show himself once again, this time in the city of Paris with a couple new murals and a couple new rats as well, which I haven't seen, I feel like, in a very long time. So if you're interested in seeing some of his newest pieces, definitely check these photos out. And lastly, artist Hewett showed off some of his newest pieces that are currently being shown at his exhibit in London, and I really just think these are fantastic. If you're a fan of human portraits made almost solely with geometric shapes, definitely check these out. That's exactly what they are. Alright, now moving into our fashion section for the day. Starting us off, boutique Bodega showed off their newest season from their in-house collection, and although not as good as the last one, I still think it's fairly decent overall. Just like with their last season, starting us off, they did another amazing lookbook here to show off many of their goods. And also, just as they did last time, we see a lot of different graphics, really nice colors used as well, and of course really nice rips on some modern and even some old school logos and brands that we've come to know over the years. However, unlike the last collection, I really did feel like this one, although as I said before decent, really lacked in variety as much as the last one did. And also, and rather kind of unsettling for me, it did seem like they also raised the prices on a couple of the products here, although it's not too bad, and the fact that about 90% of the products are still $40 and under isn't terrible, but it's still fairly worrying overall. So if you found yourself liking that last collection and might be interested in seeing some more, or otherwise just looking for some really nice streetwear pieces overall, I'd still either way check out this collection. Then brand Gentle Monster showed off their newest collection of eyewear, and I really think this is fantastic. Now, I'm sure as many of you are aware, I really don't ever show just solely accessory only or footwear only brands in many of my videos, mainly because they tend to get a little bit monotonous and very one-sided, obviously. However, on the other hand, I'm also sure that many of you are aware that there are many times where I show a collection mainly just for inspiration's sake because of how crazy it is. And this is definitely one of those times. So starting off, of course, they do have a selection of much more classic eyewear here, and it all looks very solid, very well designed and well built and very clean. Although that's not what we're here for. What we're here for is what comes next in this lookbook. The definitely more bizarre, more experimental, much more avant-garde pieces of eyewear, which I'm sure many of us have dreamed of but never actually seen before. And really, the ideas behind these pieces are just all over the place. I mean, they range anywhere from cyberpunk to Matrix inspired to neo-goth, and honestly, I love each and every one of them. So if you really do consider yourself a fan of style or design, or especially accessories in this case, definitely check out this collection. Really amazing, really inspirational stuff. Then brand Power Supply showed off their newest collection, and it's alright. For those of you unaware, Power Supply is the brainchild of artist Eric Elms, which of course you can probably see in a lot of the graphics here if you are familiar with his work. And speaking further on those graphics, I actually think there is a decent amount here. There are a lot of different styles, a lot of different variety, even a lot of different art aesthetics, which I really do have to give props to Eric for. However, I am a little bit disappointed in Eric here, mainly because even though there are a decent amount of graphics here, this collection is only graphic tees and just a very, very little sum of accessories. Nothing more. Aside from this, the prices on some of these pieces are just on the borderline of what I'd consider expensive. although they are all made in the US, so it's not really that complainable. So I do have to say, if you are a fan of Eric, or maybe you are looking for just another couple nice graphic tees to add to your collection, I would at least check this out. You may find something that you enjoy here. And lastly, Japanese brand Curly showed off their lookbook from their newest Spring-Summer 2019 season, and I do think this is a very, very solid collection. This collection comes off as a very easygoing contemporary look with some obvious flares that you'd expect out of any Japanese brand, really. The use of colors in this collection is really solid, really eye-catching without going too far over the top, as well as the patterns, which are very nicely done as well too. And then there's some really nice standout pieces here, most of which come in the form of either really nice interesting textiles used, or some really solid patchwork, or even a mixture of the two. Although I do have to say that that dip dye shirt, absolutely fucking stunning. So as I said before, just an honestly nice, clean, solid collection. And if you are a fan of more laid-back contemporary or Japanese brands in general, be on the lookout for this in the next couple months. Okay, and finally, let's move on to our articles for the day. And first up, the Washington Post put out a somewhat interesting article on the CFDA awards that we talked about recently, and they kind of do go over the same things I talked about how the fact that Gemeos and Supreme won an award and Kim Kardashian won another award is really telling to how American fashion is as a whole, especially how it's seen in the industry. And honestly, even though I dove really deep into it before, if you do want to get another perspective, I would definitely check this out. Then the New York Times put out a very nice article covering the idea of whether Gucci nowadays is stylish or tacky, and they kind of talk about what they see in their stores nowadays, kind of go over the maximalism of it, the price of it, and overall, if you're a fan of this style, or maybe you want to learn a little bit more about just the heavily maximalized fashion that is supposedly in nowadays, I'd definitely check this out. And lastly, Hypebeast sat down with, in my personal opinion, legendary designer Kazuki Kuraishi to kind of pick his brain on some of his ideas, the brands he's working on now, and so on. So if you are a fan of him or do want to learn a little bit more about the Japanese designer, I highly recommend this as well. Alright guys, and with that we reached the end of our first whiff for the week. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and as always, if you want to see some more of the photos I wasn't able to include, or read some of the articles I talked about today, I've linked everything in the description down below. And if this is your first whiff, then welcome. We do these What's Happening in Fashion videos twice a week, every Monday and Friday. So if you are a fan and want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, if you just have any questions, comments, or concerns, or even just want to talk fashion in general, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I am always willing to talk fashion. And thank you all once again for watching these videos and supporting my content. I hope, as always, you guys have a good couple days until I see you next, and also, as always, until next time.